Hi, this is Thomas Erl, and welcome to another episode of the Real Digital Transformation podcast series. Today I have with me Art Ligthart from the Y.digital organization. Art is in charge of digital transformations with Y.digital. Art, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Very nice to be here.
Art, tell us a bit about the field of AI that you focus on within the context of design thinking and the work that you do, please.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to share something. I've been very much working in the field. AI is a very broad field, especially in the domain of the natural language processing. So you can give me documents, texts, content, also structured data, speech, another variety. And we can kind of distill the knowledge out of these language and content and make it into use. So it's within the field of AI, it's especially natural language processing. And we can elaborate a bit more on the techniques, but we're very much into knowledge graphs in combination with machine learning. And I think most people might be familiar with knowledge graphs since Google started using that in around 2013, 2014. And it also kind of means that we're not into black box AI or self-learning algorithms, but much more like looking if we can create domain models, model them in knowledge graphs, and make them into use on different ways with using AI technology. So that is kind of my field.
Cool. Yeah. So what you focus on and what you have specialized in is highly relevant in the industry today. It's a central discussion point in digital transformation projects, in digital technology adoption initiatives. Many organizations are still trying to grasp the concept of bringing AI into the automation of their business operations, making it an effective part of their digital business solutions in order to keep up with what competitors are doing and with how their markets are evolving. When you work with clients, when they come to you and say, where should we begin? What's the starting point in terms of assessing the utilization of AI, in terms of how it should be positioned within our organization, and in terms of just adopting this as a core part of our enterprise ecosystem? What do you advise them?
Well, very often we start with a design thinking process. We'll elaborate a bit on that later on. But the ideal start would actually be to look for from the company's mission point of view. Most companies find it rather difficult to start, and they do start innovation projects, but without a kind of general vision how that would transform their company. So very often we say, hey, you should start with your why. Remember Simon Sinek, Golden Circle? It starts with why, and then the how and the what as well. We even put that in the name of our company, Y.digital. So we start with why. And the ideal start would actually be for a company to do this kind of scenario planning, trying to look 10 years ahead, look at your mission, try to grasp the underlying trends in society, very broad, and develop scenarios. Obviously, it's very difficult to predict the future. Still, it helps. It is fun to do because it kind of helps you looking at what are the underlying trends. For example, in 10 years from now, will the big tech company still dominate the social platforms? Or not. In the European Union, where I'm based, there's a huge regulation trend that citizens should kind of own their own data. Privacy is very important. On the field of AI, there's new regulation coming up, AI Act. And this has a huge impact also on the digital platform. So try to imagine, would these big tech companies still dominate in 2030 or not? How would law and regulation look like? How would that affect your company? You might even consider looking geopolitically. There's a huge trend that the European Union is going its own way, a different way than the United States, a completely different way than China as well. This is going to affect maybe your company, your products and services as well. Yeah, and obviously we're talking about digital transformation, so you also have to try to imagine how could digital technology look like 10 years from now. And it's not like looking at the present situation in AI, which already has a huge pace, or even blockchain technology, is try to imagine 10 years from now, this technology will have changed, will have improved. We're talking about third generation, maybe even fourth generation. How could that impact your company? Okay, a bit back. This is a kind of typical thing to do for the top of an organization, being facilitated by people who can look into the future, or at least enable you thinking in that. You should try to sharpen it down to 4 scenarios normally, and then you say, okay, once you have that, step back and say, okay, a bit closer by, how could the world look like 3 to 5 years from now? Where do we want to be as a company in 3 years? How is our vision on that? And also, what is our strategy to get there? And ideally, your AI movement will be part of this strategy. So looking into longer terms, trying to shape your company for the future. That would be the kind of ideal situation. Not always done, and it can also be done in parallel to just starting initiatives and innovation projects. This is actually how you should involve the top of your organization. So should you start there? Maybe not. But hey, on the way there, you should definitely do that, because it might really need refocusing, re-strategizing the direction of your company.
Because when I think of some organizations that are still new to this whole new generation of business automation, technology and business automation philosophy in terms of becoming more digitalized and everything that comes with it, if we ask them why bring in AI, why do you want to do this? I would assume some don't know why. They just know others are doing, but the why is something they need to learn more about in order to understand how this best relates to what they can do and the potential that they may have when they become more digitalized. Based on your experience so far, you've done many digital transformations, public sector, private sector, large corporations. You've done massive projects. What are the most common why answers? What are the most common motivations and reasons that companies, organizations right now are bringing AI in as a central part of their enterprise?
Some very common ones, and I think the most logical ones also to start with, is using AI for customer centricity reasons, deliver better service to your customer, providing possibilities to contact your customer 24/7, using customer data as well to deliver advice or services much more on demand, but also on measure, bespoke. That's one part of it, and there you typically see the chatbots, the digital assistants, and they can really improve customer contact. Another very important part is to assist the employees in the company with the knowledge that can be provided by AI. Decision support. With AI, you can take a next step that is not possible with traditional IT or not even with robotic process automation. It is possible to automate more of the standard manual work, so that employees in the companies, they get time available to do more important work, more important cases, more complex cases. Also with to have time to have personal contact, human contact with customers. At present, what we see most often is these two fields are being used for AI. So customer centricity, better customer service, and also providing more assistance to employees. Also creating more efficient and effective processes at the same time.
And what you do is not limited to AI. You've also worked with machine learning systems independent from AI. Tell us a bit about how companies should assess those options. When is a machine learning system on its own sufficient? When is bringing in AI systems or even a neural network, when is that step justified? Are there certain common criteria that you've been able to come up with to help organizations make that type of assessment?
Yeah, that's a very good question you're asking, because in my point of view, AI and also the word algorithm, they're hardly useful anymore, because they kind of cover such a huge field of functions, components, techniques, That's why one of the reasons that AI, that's not such thing as an AI solution. It's always a platform using all kinds of different components to, in the end, deliver the functionality. And one of my personal aims is also to use architecture in combination with AI. You can actually just make an architecture, very often a solution architecture of your AI platform or of an AI solution, which means you're opening it up, you're focusing on the different components inside. You can also explain to customers, not even people who are not even technical. You can explain the function of each of the components in your solution. You can discuss the various options of it. You can even discuss what kind of techniques you want to try out to see which one delivers the best results in there. And actually, that's what we always do once going into a customer, looking at the challenge being made, see how the business process is going, see what knowledge is used by either customers or employees, designing a first draft of a possible solution, and then just, you could also say in co-creation, that's more during the design process, but also make choices in what we can deliver and what we can't deliver yet, for example. Not everything is possible. And sometimes we deliver, for example, solutions that give multiple options that use different machine learning techniques and present the results also to the, for example, the employee. It's not that there's one machine giving one answer. No, this is one model. It is, for example, trained on theoretical knowledge, working procedures, instructions. It could even be law and regulation. So the model trained on that, it gives a specific advice. Another model is, for example, trained on the data set in their existing systems. You could say the knowledge that has been applied in the past and that has been distilled out in the data set. The two don't necessarily have to come up with the same conclusion. In fact, it might even be very interesting to show, hey, this is the advice based on theoretical knowledge. This is the advice based on the past. Might not be the same. End user, please feel free to draw your own conclusion with it. So the point being is that you can architect AI, and that very much helps also to take steps into explainability, into also the search for what functionality is needed for what kind of challenge in your business. And obviously, there are forms of AI, for example, the self-learning algorithms, that are in a way not explainable. Yes, we can explain how the algorithm has been made, but afterwards it starts training itself and comes up with conclusions in a way that is not explainable anymore. But in your architecture, you can draw this as a function or a component, explain what it does, which data it used, and how the results have to be interpreted. So it's kind of opening up the black box of AI, and that makes it possible to have a very good conversation on that with customers. Yeah.
Hey, everybody is interested in AI. Everybody's curious about it. Have you come across a project where there was a desire to bring in AI, but it wasn't warranted? It would have been overkill for what the customer actually needs, and perhaps introduce unnecessary complexity. Have you seen that, or are we at a point now where even a simple AI, in most cases, is better than no AI, so that what you put in place can evolve with how your business may need to change and grow over time?
I've seen examples, but what I've seen more often is the combination of traditional solutions and newer technology. It's not like AI is introduced and will replace all the existing systems and technology at the same time. It's more like, okay, what is needed in this situation? Can we make reuse of existing, for example, decision trees that function very well? Can we give a kind of add-on functionality using AI? I see that much more often. And what you asked about, are there sometimes questions or challenges of within a company that can be solved by traditional IT as well? Yeah, we see that very often. But by using design thinking, these are always filtered out. These kind of circumstances. And yeah, well, it's also it might also be my point of view that that you have to make it as explainable as possible, which means a proper discussion with customers, like on exactly this subject. What can we do in a traditional way? What should be left in a traditional way? Can we augment something or add extra value? How can we make reuse of already existing knowledge?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, really interesting. I mean, all these considerations that factor into this, because once you go down that road, once you put it in place and it becomes something your operations depend upon, your decision making depends upon, you're going down that road. It's hard to turn back once you form those dependencies.